Hello my friends, welcome and thanks for joining my channel. In this video there will be a two-part lesson. The first part will be how to install a new circuit into a double pole breaker, and the second part will be how to remove a double pole breaker. For the removal of the double pole breaker, skip to this time. Alright, first thing first, safety first. Make sure you have some safety glasses and some gloves, just in case of electrical shock or sparks. Step number 1, I'm going to carefully remove my panel cover. Before we begin step 2, there are things on the panel that I would like to show you that you should never touch with your bare hands. So here I have a volt tester. I can show you and indicate the parts in the panel that you should never touch. You can get this device from Home Depot. It's fairly cheap. To turn on this device, I press the button and it's green. When it turns red, that means it's dangerous. So the parts I'm going to show you in this panel is not safe to touch. For instance, the live feed, should never touch these. You could get shocked or you could die. Even the screws, you should never touch it. Or even the wires on the side, the bare copper, you should never touch that. Or even this bus bar, that's also dangerous. This part, very dangerous. You could die if you touch it. Lots of amps going through there. So before working on your breakers, make sure it's turned off. Like this one right here, this breaker is turned off. It's safe to touch the screw and work on. When you're always turn off the breaker before working on the device. Step number 2, on a new installation, on the panel cover, you will have to break off 2 tabs for the double pole breakers. All you will have to do is twist and turn and pull off. In this demo, I'll be installing a new circuit for my air conditioner. So I will need a 8 gauge wire plus a 40 amp double pole breaker. Step number 3, we are ready to insert the breaker into the panel. But before that, we should inspect the breaker to see how we are going to do that. So if we turn to the side, you see this bottom corner? It sort of looks like a hook. It's kind of is like a hook. It acts like a hook where it grabs onto the plastic on the panel. It makes like a motion looks like this, where it makes it the breaker as a pivot point, where it goes up and down, where it's able to release the breaker over the panel. So in the panel here, this is the part I was talking about, which acts like a hook against the breaker and it pivots it back and forth. This is where you want to hook the breaker under. Make sure you get nice and tight, nice and close into the corner. That's how it sits. Now let's take a look back at the breaker. Now if you turn it to the side or the bottom, you can see there's an opening, there's these slots. That's where the blades come into place. Slot 1 and slot 2. That is where these blades goes into. Always double check, make sure the breaker is in the off position. Now I am ready to slide the breaker all the way in the corner. Make sure it's nice and tight and close in the corner. Now I'm gonna push it down. Make sure the blades is slotted into the slots. Now it's in. And that's how you install your double pole breaker. Now, if you are planning to run a new circuit into your panel, you will have to find a knockout, like one of these on the side of the panel, and knock it out, which looks like this once it's out. To do that, you just need a flathead and a hammer just to pop it out. It's very easy. After that, you will need a Lumix cable connector, which looks like this. What's used for is to strap down the wire onto the panel so it doesn't move. That's what it looks like when the product is finished. To put one in, make sure the screw is unscrewed all the way out, and then you want to squeeze the Lumix connector, squeeze it down so it fits in the hole. It shouldn't take too much effort, and that's how it looks. Now you can slide the plate up where the wire can poke through. Next step, before poking the wires through the cable connector, you must have enough wire that will be able to reach your breaker and the ground bar. Very important. Then you want to strip the jacket just enough so it sticks out through the panel to the other side, about 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch. Just like these ones. This one's pre-stripped by someone else. Now I am ready to poke it through the cable connector. You want to shape the wire and slowly push it through. Be very careful. Slowly push the wire through. Be careful not to pull too hard. You don't want to damage the cable. When you strip off the exterior jacket, be careful not to cut too hard. Then you can cut through the wires if you do it too hard. Okay, I almost have my wire through all the way to the size, to the place I want it. So I want it to stick out about 1/4 inch is enough just to see the jacket. Just like that. Now I am ready to screw down the screw and tighten it. Now I am going to tighten this connector. Just tighten it enough so the wire is unable to slide out of the panel. You don't want to do it too tight. It can damage the wire too. Do a tug test. Make sure it's not loose. And you're ready for the next step. This panel is very busy. The very first wire you should tighten down is the ground wire. It's either green or bare copper. So you just screw it down under the ground bar. So it's right here. This is the ground bar. That's what it looks like, and I screw down the ground wire to the ground bar. The next step is to strip your wires up to about 1 centimeters long. Mine's are pre-stripped already. As you can see, there's a strip gauge on a breaker. It's about also 1 centimeters long. So you can just line the wire up to that and you can strip to exact length. The next wire I am going to install would be the white wire or the neutral wire. That is going to be installed on the bar running along next to the breaker. It will be the longest bar. It's on both sides. That is the neutral bar. So shape your wire and just insert it into any screw you like. Now do a tug test, make sure it's nice and tight. Okay, now it's done. Now we are ready to install the live wires or the hot wires, the black and the red. On the breaker, you can install it on the top or bottom. It does not matter. You can mix and match. They both work the same way. Makes no difference. Going to shape my wire. Insert it into the breaker. Now I'm going to tighten it. Do a tug test, nice and tight, it's not loose. Now for the next wire. Do another tug test. Now it's done. This is how it should look like when you strip wires and installed properly. There is little to none copper showing. These two is good. But for here, someone else did this. It stripped the wires a little too long that there's more copper showing than there should be, which can be dangerous. So don't do it that way. Do it the correct way. Strip it about 1 centimeters. Don't turn on the breaker just yet. Let's put on the panel first before we do that. Once you have safely secured the panel on, we can turn on the breaker. And that's how you install a double pole breaker. Removing your double pole breaker is fairly easy. Most common breakers now these days look like this, but the older ones, they will have a screw on the side where you unscrew it and bolts off so you can remove it. But this one is fairly simple. Step number 1, most important part, make sure your breaker is turned off, in the off position. Step number 2, remove the wires, one by one. Does not matter you want to start top or bottom, and does not matter if it's black or red. They are both the same. Loosen the screws and pull the wires away. Now for the next step, to take off the breaker. The easiest way to remove the breaker is by putting your flathead on the side. There's an indent slot where it fits the flathead, and you lightly pound it on the side. And it pops off like this. In the back right corner is a pivot point where it pivots the breaker. I'll show you another view of where I am putting the flathead when I'm pounding it. So there's a little indent slot where you put your flathead in, where you're able to pound it lightly on. Sometimes the breaker gets very stuck and hard to take out, so you have to be very careful when you do it. So it goes in like this and you pound it. And that's how you remove your double pole breaker. And that's how you install a double pole breaker with a new circuit. Thank you for watching this video. See you until next time. Peace out.